I have to admit it. For the last few years, I've used an Android phone and sung Android's praises. I said Android had better features, it was more powerful, there were things I could do with an Android phone I just couldn't do with an iPhone. And then, sigh, I got the new iPhone 6s Plus. Yes, it's pink. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Actually, I really like this pink. You ought to look at it in the store. It doesn't do it justice to see it on camera or to see the stills that Apple put out, which really do look pink. It's a more shimmery, kind of coppery gold. I really like it. And man, I know Apple says this every year, but it's really true. This is the best iPhone ever. Just gorgeous. First of all, very thin, very light. As I said, this is the Plus version, 5.7 inches, 1080p screen. Sure, I've had higher resolution, more DPI on Android, but one thing this phone gives you that Android just doesn't seem to be able to, all-day battery life. I've been using this thing like crazy. In fact, I unplugged it at 6 a.m. I'm still at 77%. Since I got this phone on Friday, almost a week ago, I haven't gone to bed with less than 40% left on the phone. I like that margin. It means that I can use the phone, go to dinner, go to a show, take a walk, and not have to worry about charging it. Now, the Android phones solve that problem with fast charging. Apple hasn't quite figured that out. In fact, this is a pretty slow-to-charge device, so you really are going to want to get to the end of the day before you plug it in. It takes a few hours, but before you wake up, you'll have a fully charged iPhone. Some of the new features of the iPhone really mean it's more than just kind of the S version. Apple said the only thing that's changed is everything. At first I mocked that, but as I use it, I'm really impressed. Siri's much improved. You could talk to her directly. Hey Siri. She'll even say yes, by the way, which is kind of cool. She'll read you Wikipedia articles, which she never did before. You do train Siri to use your voice, which means that she's much less likely to wake up by accident. That is a big boon. Did I wake up your Siri when I was shouting, hey Siri? Oh, all right. I'm sorry about that if I did. There's other new features that I really like. The 3D touch. I was very skeptical. I've used Force Touch on the watch and on some of the MacBooks, and I found it difficult to understand what it was going to do, hard to predict what the results would be. I turn it off because it just gets in the way. You won't want to turn it off on the new iPhone 6s. Let me show you. Of course, with Apple's apps, it's always going to work. In fact, the way you do it is if you just tap something, it'll open the app. If you press it a little longer, it'll make them jiggle, jiggle, jiggle so you can delete it. But if you press it hard, and it takes a little while, but you do get some haptic feedback, a little buzz on the screen. You'll get a pop-up menu, kind of like a right-click context-sensitive menu that gives you up to 4 of the most used commands. So this is the camera, and it says take a photo, record a slow-mo, record video, or take a selfie. And as a power user, you gotta love that. It immediately goes into selfie mode. Speaking of which, selfies, they now flash the screen to give selfies their own light, and it really has improved the quality of the selfies. There are third-party apps that support this 3D touch. Look, here's Instagram, 3D Force Touch it or pop it, and you get new post, view activity, search, and direct. I think that's a great feature. I hope more companies will support this in their icons. Let me turn the screen brightness down a little bit so you can see it better. It's just a great feature. It's a little frustrating, though, when you tap something and nothing happens, and that's one of the reasons I hope that companies will start supporting this 3D touch. It's great. Another thing you can do with 3D touch that's brand new and it requires one of the new iPhones is you force touch and swipe in from the left. Look at that. Here's other apps that are running in the background. You can go directly to the previous app by just swiping all the way, or swipe halfway and you'll get the new iOS 9 context switcher. These are all apps running in the background or recently used apps. That's a very nice feature. Again, this is a phone, an iPhone for a power user. And I have to say, I really, really like the new features. Gotta love the live photos as well in the camera. The trick with the camera is to take pictures and be aware of the live photos. You could turn it off. Here's one of my my little dog, Ozzy. You can turn off the live photos if you want, and you might want to, because what happens is the picture is being recorded 1.5 seconds before you actually shoot the shot, and then for 1.5 seconds afterwards. That means I got a lot of pictures of me putting the phone down. But if you remember that it's on, here's what I think is a great picture of Ozzy with his head out the window. But then when I 3D touch it, It comes alive with video and audio. Right now, it only works on iOS devices with this new 3D touch capability. Messages works that way. Facebook says their iOS app will also do that. If more and more social sites adopt this, I think this is a great feature, especially if you have kids or small animals. It really brings it to life. A+ Apple, they've done it beautifully. We've seen this feature before on Nokia and HTC, but as usual, Apple just got it right. They made it really sweet. All in all, I have to say, this is easily the best iPhone I've ever used. The real question is who should buy it. Certainly, if you're an iPhone user, you're going to be interested in it. And if you have an iPhone that's more than 2 years old, you're absolutely going to want to buy it if you can afford it. These are still pretty expensive phones, but Apple's made it easier with their monthly purchase plan. The question really is, if you have an iPhone 6, only a year old, should you upgrade to the iPhone 6s? In my opinion, you should. There's enough new stuff here to make it a completely different and much better experience. And by the way, rose gold. It ain't bad. Pros and cons. Faster than ever before. It's about twice as fast, and it really feels it. Partly that's because they doubled the RAM. Partly it's because it's got a new A9 chip in it. The pictures are gorgeous. Yes, those 12 megapixels show up in every shot you take, in low light, in bright light. It's still not a DSLR or even a point and shoot, but it's probably the best camera phone I've ever used. I love the live photos too. That's a great way to bring a photo to life. Many of the 3D touch features add power, make it easier for somebody who knows what they're doing to use it faster. And I think people will discover it and embrace it. It's not just for power users. Once you learn how to use it, you're going to probably use it all the time. On the negative side, it is a really expensive phone. This is the most expensive one you can get, the 6S Plus, the big screen, with 128 gigs of storage, almost $1,000. It takes your breath away. You can save by doing the monthly plan or getting a smaller phone and less storage. Probably 64 gigs is enough for anybody. Stay away from the 16 gig model. That's just not enough. So 64 gigs, rose gold. I gotta say, this is a buy.